Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you're running any kind of business that relies on, customers finding you online, you know the drill. Keyword research, link building, constantly chasing Google's algorithm updates. But those rules are changing. I mean, fundamentally, right now, we're seeing this move away from just relying on traditional search. And we're stepping into an era where AI is, well, it's the main filter.
That is the monumental truth we all have to absorb today. For 20 years, Google was the gatekeeper, period. Now, the large language models, the AIs, they're taking on that role. And they just don't value links the way Google did. Our sources, they lay out this new path. It's this necessity of owning the conversation around your business's expertise.
Okay, owning the conversation. What does that mean in practical terms? Because that sounds a bit like a big marketing buzzword.
It does, but it's not. It means transforming your digital presence from just a collection of static, passive pages into a structured, truthful, and conversational knowledge base. The goal is for your AI assistant to become the intellectual brain of your operation, the undisputed source of accurate information for your niche. See, the new form of authority isn't about having the most backlinks. It's about being the single structured source that an AI actually trusts enough to cite, to recommend.
Okay, let's unpack that, because this is a huge shift both philosophically and technically. The contrast between the old web and this new AI-driven web it's stark. For decades, the system was simple, right? You searched, Google gave you 10 links, and then you started hunting for the answer yourself.
Exactly. It was a scavenger hunt. And it had no personalization, no memory. If I asked Google 10 different questions about, say, a trip to Thailand, it treated every single one as a separate, unrelated search.
But the AI tools, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, they've completely flipped the script. When you ask them something, they aren't just sending you off to a list of websites to read.
Oh, not at all. They know who you are, they remember what you've asked before, they filter out all the irrelevant junk, and they give you a clean, direct, personalized answer. Or even more powerfully, a recommendation. They're giving you the final answer, not the homework.
And this is where the business impact becomes, well, impossible to ignore. Because if an AI recommends you, the user acts on it in a way they just never would with a generic search result.
That's the critical insight pulled directly from the source material. This isn't just about a little bit more traffic. The data shows that a recommendation delivered by a trusted AI assistant, get this, it increases conversions by up to 300 times.
Whoa, hang on, let's pause on that. 300 times, that number is not. That's jaw-dropping. Are the sources clear on what's driving that kind of jump? Is it just trust, or is there something else?
It is almost entirely built on trust and reducing friction. Think about it.
No.
In the old system, a user clicks your link, lands on your site, they have to read, compare, check prices, and then maybe they convert. That's a huge path.
A lot of points where they can just leave.
Exactly. But in the new system, if the AI, which the user already trusts, says, hey, based on your needs, this company is the verified correct answer, the user jumps straight to the action. They skip the 10 minutes of research because that trust has been outsourced to the AI.
So if you're just doing traditional SEO, you might get, 1,000 visitors to get one customer? But if you own the conversation, those same 1,000 visitors, if they come through an AI recommendation, could become 300 customers. That's why being in that trusted answer set it's essential for survival now.
Precisely. You can spend $1 million competing for that number one link, which might give you a 1% conversion rate. Or you can focus on being the single trusted source that generates a guaranteed massive boost in conversion intent. The whole incentive structure for online marketing has basically been broken.
Okay, so this leads perfectly into the how. How does a company go from being a static digital brochure to actually implementing this new AI authority? Let's dive into the mechanism behind this conversational content.
It all relies on automation, where the customer interaction actually generates the content. So the core idea is that a business trains its own internal AI assistant on its specific knowledge. Pricing sheets, service details, FAQs, all of it. Then, when a visitor comes to the site and asks a really specific question, that interaction triggers this highly automated, structured loop.
Walk us through that loop slowly, because this sounds like where the magic happens.
It is. So, step one, a visitor asks a question, and it could be a very complex one. Step two, the business's own AI assistant instantly generates a high-quality, truthful answer based on its knowledge base. That's the conversation.
Okay, so far, that sounds a bit like a standard chatbot. Where does the authority building part come in?
That's in steps 3 and 4. So step 3, the system stores that interaction, that specific question and answer pair, and it assigns it to the right category. And step 4, and this is the crucial part for getting indexed, the system immediately creates a brand new structured web page around that Q&A set.
That is fascinating. So the system is basically writing its own blog post based on what users are actually asking, not just keyword guesswork.
It goes even deeper than that. The page it creates isn't just readable text. It automatically gets clear H1 and H2 tags that structure the topic perfectly. And here's the most important technical detail for the AI era. At the same time, it builds a structured JSON file for that page.
A structured JSON file. Okay, for our listeners who aren't developers, why is that file such a superpower right now?
Think of the JSON file as like a clean index card designed only for the AI, not for humans. Traditional search crawlers have to spend a ton of computing power trying to read your messy HTML page, figure out the topic, find the answer. The JSON file just gets rid of all that friction. It tells the AI, hey, here's the page topic, here's the exact question, and here's the verified answer. It saves the AI all that messy decoding work.
So every question a customer asks becomes not just a conversation, but a new, high-authority, pre-labeled data point that the big AI models can trust instantly.
That's it, exactly. Every single question becomes a new page, a new authority signal, and fresh, user-needed content. It just fundamentally changes the content game. You're not writing generic articles hoping someone finds them. You're generating ultra-specific, user-verified answers that the AI finds highly trustworthy.
But wait, if we're automating hundreds of pages based on user questions, isn't there a risk of creating content bloat? Or worse, low-quality answers that confuse people or get flagged by algorithms. That's the fear with automation.
And that's a valid concern, and it raises the need for human oversight, which we can get to. But regarding the algorithms, the source material suggests the opposite actually happens. Because these pages are built on real user intent and structure, the H1 tag perfectly matches the user's question. The algorithms, including Google's, see them as highly valuable and authentic.
Ah, because they're contextually correct, not just generic filler.
Right. They're not filler.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's get to the proof. This all sounds incredible in theory, but did it actually work? We've got the source material that details the test sites.
Yes, the sources confirm this was tested extensively and across really diverse markets, from international tourism sites like Gulf Thailand and Phuket Thailand Online to hyper-local services like Sutherland Sally. The pattern was consistent across every single domain.
And what kind of content were these sites suddenly generating that, traditional SEO would have just missed?
They started answering these hyper-niche, long-tail questions that no human writer would ever prioritize. For example, a tourism site might start answering, are there Gulf packages for 6 people with guaranteed tea times before 8 a.m. during the low season, including transport from Khao Lak?
Wow, okay. Nobody's writing a blog post for that specific query.
Exactly. But that level of specificity is what the LLMs value, because it proves true expertise.
And the proof is in the numbers, right, in the indexation. After they implemented this, these sites saw massive jumps in pages indexed by Google, even through all the recent algorithm chaos.
Correct. The metrics are really compelling because they show the content is valued by both the LLMs and Google. In one case, a site jumped from just 31 indexable pages to 184 almost immediately after turning this on. The Phuket site saw over 400 pages indexed rapidly. And that scale, that structural authority, it gave them this strong resilience against updates that just hammered other sites.
So the system reinforces itself. It generates content that users need and that algorithms trust.
That's the takeaway. The authenticity, the fact that it came from a real customer question, it shines through, and the filtering systems reward it.
Okay, now, in the early tests, the sources mention a strategic decision to hold off on adding images. They wanted to prove the text, and the structure worked on its own merit. But since AI is multimodal, we can't ignore the visual side. How do visuals play into this new authority?
That was a smart move initially, but you're right, you can't fully own the conversation without engaging multimodal authority. So the next phase is about strategically adding relevant images, detailed alt tags, good descriptions, all of it wrapped up in those perfect H1, H2 structures.
So the images aren't just for looks. They're actively building authority by verifying the text.
Exactly. The AI filter is sophisticated.
Okay.
It doesn't just read the text, it looks at the image. The LLM can literally see a picture of a specific Phuket beach and confirm that the text talking about that beach is accurate. It validates the topic. It confirms truthfulness.
And it makes sure the content matches the image.
Right. And all of that verification just boosts the ultimate trust score of the page. If your text says, we offer beautiful white sand beaches, and the image is clearly a beautiful white sand beach with the right geographic data, the authority signal is just undeniable for the AI.
This is powerful, but we have to circle back to that control issue we touched on. If every user question auto-generates a page, how does the business owner manage that knowledge base? How do they make sure the AI brain doesn't go rogue and start spreading bad info? This is where a lot of business owners get nervous about automation.
And that oversight mechanism is non-negotiable. The system in the sources addresses this with built-in real-time editing features, and they're designed for non-coders. The business owner has absolute control.
How immediate is that control?
It's instant. If an automated answer is slightly off, or if the marketing team wants to change the focus of a page, they can edit the original question, the answer, the final page, the tags, the images, all of it in a central dashboard in seconds without touching any code. So human supervision keeps the knowledge base clean and truthful.
That control factor, that's the bridge that makes this work in the real world. Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk about the actual business impact, the sort of hidden superpowers this unlocks, starting with global reach.
Multilingual reach is a massive and often unexpected advantage. We saw this with the test sites, especially the ones focused on Thai tourism. They weren't manually translating hundreds of pages, but they were already attracting and serving international customers.
From which languages?
The sources noted significant traffic from Japanese, Korean, Thai, Chinese, and English-speaking tourists. The human sales team wasn't fluent in all those languages, but the AI assistant was.
So the system just captured international demand on its own because it instantly answers the query in whatever language the person asks it in.
It's something that would be impossibly expensive or slow with traditional SEO and translation. This just removes the language barrier. It opens up the entire world as your potential customer base by default, with no extra effort. That's a huge productivity win.
And let's talk about productivity inside the sales funnel. This AI brain is doing more than just creating content. It's acting like a pre-sales team.
Oh, absolutely. The system is the ultimate filter and educator. It handles all the tasks that used to bog down human sales teams, filtering out the tire kickers, educating genuinely interested customers, answering all the common objections, clarifying nuanced details, and it's doing all of that while handling those multilingual queries we just mentioned.
Which means when the human sales team finally talks to a lead, they're not wasting time on basic stuff.
Precisely. The result is a massive increase in sales-ready leads. The customer is already pre-sold because the AI brain of the business has already given them all the structured, trusted information they needed. That AI trust just accelerates the whole decision.
This has been a complete education. Before we wrap up, let's just synthesize the philosophical difference between these two approaches.
Sure. If you boil it all down, you see a really clear divide. Traditional SEO is extrinsic. It depends on keywords, algorithms, backlinks, all these external factors that are unpredictable and always changing. The AI authority model is intrinsic. It depends entirely on internal quality, on truth, structure, freshness, context, relevance, and conversation. One model chases the algorithm, the other one builds inherent, undeniable trust.
So the primary takeaway for you, our listener, is that success in this AI era is less about being found in some long, competitive list, and it's far more about being recommended as the single, trusted, truthful source.
That recommendation is the new currency of the web, and
Yeah.
it's valued 300 times higher than a traditional click.
So since AI recommendations outperform links by that astronomical 300x margin, consider this. Which single piece of high-value information, if you structured it conversationally and truthfully today, would generate the highest value conversion for your business? That specific question is your next step to owning the conversation.